West, different areas of England were governed by different systems of law, often adopted from those of the various invaders who had settled there. Back then, the king had little control over the country as a whole, and there was no effective central government. But when William the Conqueror gained the English throne in 1066, he established a strong central government and began, among other things, to standardize the law. During this process, which went on for around 2 centuries, the principle of stare decisis, which means let the decision stand, grew up. Whenever a new problem of law came to be decided, the decision formed a rule to be followed in all similar cases, making the law more predictable. From the basic idea of stare decisis, a hierarchy of precedent grew up in line with the hierarchy of the modern court system, so that, in general, a judge must follow decisions made in courts which are higher up the hierarchy than his or her own. The English common law system was exported around the world whenever British influence dominated during the colonial period. This includes Malaysia, South Africa, Canada, Nigeria, and also Australia. These countries, including the US and many Commonwealth countries, are described as having common law systems. They are often contrasted with civil law systems, which can be found in continental Europe and countries over which European countries have had influence. The best known civil law system is the French legal system, whose civil code has been highly influential.
Precedents can be divided into 3 types: original, binding, and persuasive. When there are no judicial decisions for a judge to refer to a case brought to the court, this is known as an original precedent. The judge will then have to take into account other cases with similar principles in order to come to a decision. This, however, is not binding but rather persuasive. This type of approach will be further discussed later. An example of an original precedent is in the case of Anne's and London Borough of Merton, whereby the tenant wanted to take legal action against the local council for negligence. The local council failed to properly inspect the building walls and could have actually identified the uneven foundation. The court found that there were no previous cases that were similar with this case, thus establishing it as a new precedent or original precedent. This can also be seen in the case of R against R, whereby it is a case between husband and wife. The husband, known as a defendant, was charged with marital rape. During this time, there were no such cases reported to the court. Another type of precedent is binding precedent. When a court, generally a superior court, makes a decision, all courts below it, or known as inferior courts, are obliged to follow the decision of the courts. One requirement for it to be binding is that it should be under the same jurisdiction. However, there is an exception that in the Court of Appeal, not all cases are binding, but are followed by convention. This will indicate that the Court of Appeal can establish new precedents if there is a reason to do so. An example of a binding precedent is the case of R against Said Harun. The case was referred to an older case known as R against Yusuf. The judge held that the case remained good law and is binding. The reason behind it being binding is that both cases involved human rights. The last type of precedent is a persuasive precedent. The persuasive approach can come in many forms, such as courts lower in the hierarchy, obiter dicta, dissenting judgments, and judgments from other jurisdictions. This type of precedent is not binding but can influence the judgment made by the courts. Previously discussed was the case of R and R, whereby decisions from courts lower in the hierarchy actually influence the judgment of this case. Besides that, obiter dicta is statement made in a judgment. It provides important information and is used as guidance for judges. An example is the obiter dicta from R against Howe and Bannister, which was followed by the case of R against Scott. The obiter dicta stated that the defense of duress cannot be applied for cases with attempted murder. For dissenting judgments, it can be seen in the case of Donoghue and Stevenson, whereby the dissenting judge, Lord Buckmaster, said a completely different interpretation than what Lord Atkins said, that there is no duty of care owed to the third party outside of a contract.
So, how judge apply the doctrine of precedent in the courts? Well, it is by using the ratio decidendi in order to avoid awkward precedents that may be binding in a glance. Ratio decidendi is a principle of law on which a decision is based on. A judge outlines the facts he finds have been proven on the evidence when delivering judgment, which the law is applied to those facts and arrives at a decision for which he gives the reason. It can also be defined as any rule of law as expressly or impliedly. It is possible to argue at some length bits of pieces of the judgment actually form the ratio and therefore bind courts in later cases, since the judges never use the statement "this is the ratio decidendi." This precedent is usually made by the courts that hear appeals, such as the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. In general, the judge usually would follow the decision of a previous precedent if the facts of a present case are significantly similar. However, the judge has options not to follow the decision of a previous precedent, and there are three of them: to overrule, to distinguish, or to reverse. In certain circumstances, the judge of a higher court has the authority to overrule an earlier precedent that was wrongly decided, established by the judge of the lower court, as they were not bound by the precedents made in the lower court. The case of Annie and Dumber decided that occupier of premises did not owe a duty to injuries or death suffered by trespassing children. However, in Harrington and British Railway Board, the House of Lords used the practice statement to depart from the previous decision made in Addy and Dumbright and held that an occupier of premises did owe a duty to injuries or death suffered by trespassing children, thus overruling the previous precedent. The higher courts can also distinguish between cases in order to avoid following the past decision in which they would otherwise follow. It is used when material facts are sufficiently different that allows them to draw a line between the present case and the previous precedent. The distinction was shown between Balfour and Merritt. Although both cases involve husband and wife, a domestic agreement with no legal intention was established in Balfour, while the agreement in Merritt was legally binding because it was established when they were no longer living together in amity. Moreover, the higher courts may reverse the decision made in the lower court of the same case due to different views of law. Therefore, it is important for the higher court to identify the true ground of the decision, the ratio decidendi, as the lower court is legally obliged to follow when confronted with a different case with similar material facts. This is illustrated in the case of Ree M. Children, where a transgender father from an ultra-Orthodox Jewish community appealed that he should have access to his children, by which the decision of the High Court was reversed by the Court of Appeal, stating that access was not permitted.
I will be talking about the ways to avoid precedent. So, one of the ways is overruling. So, overruling is a method of a court avoiding a previous precedent when previous decision is no longer good law. So, the Court of Appeal can only overrule its own precedent by following one of the three rules laid down in the case of Young and Bristol Aeroplane. Higher courts can overrule the decisions of lower courts. So, for example, the House of Lords in Burgess against Parmenter overruled the Court of Appeal decision in Regis against Grant. So, the Supreme Court can depart from its own decisions and overrule them by using the practice act 1966. So, for example, in the case of Annie and Dumbright,
A lower court may avoid using the precedent decided by a higher court if it can find a significant difference in the material facts of the original case. The facts of the case are different. The previous case is no longer binding. So the judge can distinguish a new case from the previous one. In the case of Balfour and married, both of these cases involve wife and husband. The wife sued her husband for breaching of contract. So the judge held that there was no legally binding in Balfour. However, in married, the judge mentioned that the material facts were different as the husband and wife were separated and no longer in amity. So the agreement was made after they had separated and the agreement was in writing.
Another way of avoiding precedent is reversing. So reversing is occur when the appeal court overturns the decision of lower court. It normally involves one case which is the same case. The original decision is reversed and a new precedent is created by the superior court to apply to these material facts in future cases. So, an example of this was seen in Ringus against Kingston in 1984 when the House of Lords reversed the Court of Appeal decision of quashing defendant's conviction of violent assault. So, the another way of avoiding precedent is per incurrere. It means that throughout carelessness. So it occurs when the previous precedent has been made in error, carelessness, or mistake. The error occurs if the precedent was created ignoring the bundle. Allowed the court not to be bound. So a decision which reached per incurrere in Orella and Wheatley in 1955, Lord Evershed defined that per incurrere is an exception as applying to decisions given in ignorance or forgetfulness of some inconsistent statutory provision or some authorities binding on the court concerned. So, the examples of per incurrere are quite uncommon because upper courts identify it as a type of lesser majesty and respect lower courts prefer to distinguish such precedent cases if possible.
Now let's go to the advantages and disadvantages of using the precedent. First of all, when using precedent, it provides certainty in the law. By looking at the existing precedents, it is possible to forecast what a decision will be and plan it accordingly. The most commonly occurred of the substantive reasons for choosing strong over weak precedential constraint is the principle of predictability. Now, lawyers can advise their clients on the likely outcome of a case. Apart from that, the precedent provides uniformity in the law, in the way that similar cases will be treated in the same way. This is important to give the system a sense of justice and to make the system acceptable to the public and give them confidence to the law. Moreover, judicial precedent is flexible because there are a number of ways to avoid precedent, and this enables the system to change and to adapt to new situations. For example, until the practice statement 1966, judges in the House of Lords believed themselves to be bound by the previous decisions by virtue of a rule ostensibly established in the 19th century that they were so bound. But now, the Supreme Court can use the practice statement to overrule cases that they think were made per incurrere. Furthermore, there is precision in the judicial precedent, and this is because the principles of law are based on real facts, and the law becomes very precise and gradually builds up through the different variations of facts in the cases that come before court. Not to forget, judicial precedent is time-saving. Where a principle has been established, cases with similar facts are unlikely to go through the legality process of litigation all over again. Now, even though judicial precedent provides a lot of benefits, which I mentioned just now, judicial precedent also have drawbacks, certain drawbacks that cannot be avoided, which is the first one is rigidity. In achieving stability in law, there's a price to pay. The law may have to give up some of its flexibility. This is illustrated when lower courts have to follow decisions of higher courts and Court of Appeal has to follow its own past decisions. This may make the law inflexible and bad decisions made in the past may be perpetuated. Besides that, judicial precedent creates complexity when there is far too much case law and it is too complex, and difficulties can arise in deciding what the ratio decidendi is, especially if there are a number of reasons. The task of a theory of precedent is to explain in a world in which a single event may fit into many different categories. Last but not least, judicial precedent prevents the growth of the law, or it makes the growth slower. This is illustrated when there may be a considerable wait for a case to come to court for a point to be decided. Only 50% of Court of Appeal cases go to the Supreme Court. Some areas of the law are unclear or in need for reform. However, court cannot make a decision unless there is a case before the court to. With that being said, the doctrine of precedent bears benefit but also drawbacks. However, this is by far the most effective way of running the law. We hope that this video is informative and thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe!